Imagine, if you will, a village under threat. A band of werewolves circle the village and eat one villager each night. But here's the trick. The werewolves aren't outside. The werewolves are among the villagers. This is the premise of the classic game of Werewolf. Players break into two teams. The werewolves know who their friends are and eat one villager during each night phase. The villagers don't know who the werewolves are, and each day vote to kill one villager who they hope is actually a werewolf. The team with population left at the end of the game wins. Welcome, this is the Clever Move Podcast, and I am your host, Matt M. Casey. On this episode, we're talking about Werewolf. Werewolf started as Mafia in 1986, and it originally served as an exercise to demonstrate what life was like living under the Mafia in the USSR. Since then, it has changed its name and its theme and become a cultural touchpoint. People love this game. We've collected stories from 4 werewolf fanatics to help explain that love. We'll get to those in a minute, but first, a quick overview. Werewolf starts when the moderator hands each player a roll card at random. Some are wolves, some are villagers. Before the game starts, everyone closes their eyes, then the werewolves open their eyes so that they can know who their friends are. The game proceeds through a series of day and night phases. Each night, the werewolves silently agree on a villager to kill. Some villagers also act during the night. The seer, for example, can secretly point to another player and learn which team they're on. During the day, the moderator reveals who the wolves killed overnight. Then, players debate until they agree to kill someone from the group. When they do, they learn that player's role, and hope that it's a wolf. The game continues this way until all the wolves are dead, or until the wolves outnumber the villagers. Because it's a social game, things can go wrong in unexpected ways. A lapse in judgment, a miscommunication, or an odd circumstance can change everything. And our first story includes all of those things.
Game of Werewolf, like 14 players. I'm the werewolf, 2 of my friends are werewolves. We start the game, we open our eyes, we see each other, the game continues. Every time it's time to vote, because the way I'm sitting down, I can't really lift my hand up to point at someone without someone near me feeling it. So whenever they point at someone, I just nod my head like, yeah, let's do that. The whole time during the game, whenever I'm thinking, no, let's not do that, they just ignore me and vote anyway. Until a moment comes up where there's just about an even number of werewolves and villagers. The seer goes, wait, we're gonna lose? I'm the seer. You're the werewolf, you're the werewolf. And I'm Rumble. There's nothing I can do about this. I can try and pretend to be like, oh no, I'm the seer, but it's not gonna work out. The third werewolf who wasn't picked is like, no way, Lloyd can't be the seer, there's no way. And I'm sitting there going, dude, what are you doing? You're gonna get yourself caught. The votes come through, naturally, everyone votes me to die. I die, I vote as a werewolf. And he goes, wait, you're the werewolf? It's at this point that all the other werewolves realized that he hadn't actually noticed me throughout the game, and he genuinely thought I was human. When he did that, everyone else on the table instantly believed him. They were like, well, clearly he definitely did not know Lloyd was a werewolf. The shock was definitely in his voice, because it was real, it was actually real. And no one voted for him for the entire game. They took out the other werewolf, and it was just him and 2 people, and we won. And that's it. It was beautiful.
That story comes to us from a Reddit user who called himself Lloyd. No last name, just Lloyd. Lloyd's story shows us how one player's small mistake can unwittingly help him or her. But sometimes the complicating twist can come from the game itself. See, Werewolf has developed as an open source game. Players and professional game developers have come up with hundreds of their own roles and rules. Each one changes how players approach the game. And sometimes players new to a group might not know how these roles affect things, which is what happens in our next story.
I think I was at a convention of some sort. They had a board game room, and so I went there and saw that they were hosting a big game of Werewolf. It was a really big game, I think about 20 people. But it wasn't a regular game of Werewolf. They had some custom cards that they added. Most of them were based on celebrities. I remember that from my card, I had to have 2 specific people die, and then I would be able to win.
This is actually a common variant. It makes the game trickier because players sometimes need to eliminate members of their own team if they want to win.
Really early on in the game, I got really lucky. Very first time somebody got lynched, it was one of my targets. But my boyfriend, who I was also playing with, decided he was going to vote to lynch me every single round. So I figured if I was supposed to have a chance, I was gonna have to get him out of the picture. So I ended up voting to have him lynched. It turned out that what his card was Robin Williams. Which the effect of the card said that he cannot die under any circumstances. And of course, after that I got lynched for instigating violence against Robin Williams.
That story comes to us from the very helpful Olivia Dunlap. Now here's a story of one of my werewolf games. I was on vacation with my girlfriend and a few of her friends who she used to play a lot of werewolf with in college. So we had to play. A few rounds in, things are not looking good for we the villagers. Our numbers are dwindling, and if we're going to win, we need to kill a werewolf right now. The other players are suspicious of my girlfriend. They might be right, but if they're wrong, killing her guarantees that we lose. I happen to know that my girlfriend is incapable of lying, even when it's convenient or, tactful. So I stare her right in the eye and I ask point blank, "Are you a werewolf?" "No," she says, and I believe her. Then I lead the charge to kill someone else. The entire time he insists that I'm wrong, and when we turn over his card, we find out that I am wrong. My girlfriend was the werewolf the whole time. While Werewolf is a game where things go wrong, sometimes I go very, very right. A little quick thinking and a little charisma can go a long way. And a British accent doesn't hurt.
So we're playing Werewolf with about 20 players, and I'm the Alpha Wolf. First morning, we hear from the moderator that somebody evil was found during the night. And I'm guessing that means me. So the player next to me blurts out, "Hey, I'm the clairvoyant." So I just shout out, "You're lying! I'm the clairvoyant. Who did you check?" This flustered her. She says, "I checked you." And I say, "Well, that's really convenient. You're lying, you thought you'd been found out, and you pretended to be the clairvoyant. Trouble is, you chose to accuse me, and I'm the real clairvoyant. And somehow, I look believable and she didn't. So the village burns her. She dies, she's out of the game. And I get to play as the fake clairvoyant, controlling the game. Turns out we got another player, the wizard, who can check if I've got powers, so can I be the clairvoyant? Well, he turns out to be a dark wizard, so he's actually on my side. The players begin to figure out he might be a dark wizard, and he's already said that I'm a good guy. So I thought I'd be really clever. I killed him off. Trouble was, turns out we were playing with another role called the Witch, and we were playing with an odd variant called the Cursed Witch, which means if someone attacks a character who's protected by this witch, they die. Well, this witch decided to protect our dark wizard. Don't know why. Witch should have been protecting me. So, having taken over as clairvoyant, driven the game, felt really cool about it, I died through my own stupidity. Or bad luck.
That story comes to us from Simon Appleton, who wanted us to give a shout out to the Brighton Pub Board Gamers. You can find their meetups at brightongamers.co.uk. So there is no such thing as a perfect game. Board game fanatics will tell you that Werewolf has two major problems. The first is player elimination. This is when the game allows or requires players to get kicked out. It's not always fun to have to sit on the sidelines and wait for a game to end. The second is a phenomenon we call analysis paralysis. This is when a group of players take way too long analyzing information before they make a decision. This next story features both of those problems, but that doesn't stop the storyteller from loving the game.
My group of friends and I have been playing the Werewolves of Miller's Hollow for about 10 years now.
That's a commercial version of Werewolf. Other companies sell their own versions called Are You the Werewolf and Ultimate Werewolf. You can probably find them at a local board game store near you.
We spend an eternity after each night to decide who is being lynched. Voting decisions are cross-examined, and every permutation of possible future events is looked at. During a game last year, we spent an hour after the first night to discuss what I think is the least important lynching in the game, because there's little to examine after the first kill. The 2 dead players, including me, lovers who were killed by the werewolves, the 2 dead players begged every 50 minutes to hurry up the voting, but were rejected by the other players who wanted to work out some crucial logic. The whole game took over 2 hours to finish, while the eliminated players sat and watched on. And then, of course, we played again.
That story was told by Paul from Canada, an enthusiastic werewolf player if ever there was one. That does it for this episode of the Clever Move Podcast. You can find us online at clevermovegames.com. You can find our YouTube videos at youtube.com/clevermovegames. You can also find us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Once you do, you can help us make the next episode of this podcast. The next game we want to tackle is Settlers of Catan, and we want to include your story. Ping us by email or social media, and we'll let you know how you can participate. Thanks for listening.